The bright studio lights of the Today Show shimmered across the polished floor as the crew prepared for the most anticipated interview of the week. Producers whispered into their headsets, assistants rushed across the set, and the camera operators adjusted their lenses with the precision of surgeons. There was a strange, electric tension in the air, one that Savannah Guthrie had felt all morning. Meghan Markle was coming on the show. Savannah took a long breath, straightening the stack of cue cards in her hand. She had interviewed politicians, celebrities, CEOs, athletes, even heads of state, and almost nothing rattled her anymore. But she knew from the moment this interview had been confirmed, today would not be easy. Backstage, Meghan stepped out of her dressing room, wearing a sleek cream suit that shimmered softly under the hallway lights. Her assistant hovered behind her anxiously. "Are you sure about this?" the assistant whispered. "The producers warned us this might get direct." Meghan pressed her lips together. "I'm not afraid of questions," she said calmly, though her fingers trembled slightly. "I just want my truth to be heard." The assistant nodded, but the worry in her eyes only deepened. When Meghan entered the main studio, conversations stopped mid-sentence. A few heads turned. Some stared. Others simply tightened their lips and kept working. It wasn't hostility, it was wariness. Ever since her recent documentary release and the ripple of controversies that followed, every appearance she made seemed to carry a storm cloud with it. Savannah greeted her with a polite smile. "Welcome, Meghan. Thanks for joining us this morning." "Thank you for having me," Meghan replied with equal politeness, though both women sensed the sharp edge beneath the words. The crew took their positions. Cameras rolled in. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The theme music faded. The red light blinked on. Dash dash dash. "Good morning, everyone," Savannah began smoothly. "We're joined today by Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, to talk about her new projects, her recent statements, and the reactions across the world." Meghan folded her hands in her lap, maintaining a poised smile. Savannah continued. "Meghan, let's start with something simple. You've recently made strong claims about being misrepresented in the media. Yet many critics argue that you often contradict your own narratives. How do you respond to that?" Meghan blinked. That was not the soft opener she had expected. "Well," she said slowly, "I think when people take things out of context or twist your intentions, misunderstandings happen. My goal has always been to share my experiences honestly." Savannah nodded, but didn't soften. "All right," she said. "But in your documentary, you insisted you never wanted the spotlight. Yet you've had multiple high-profile interviews, public statements, and now a new production deal. Can you see why some people might view this as contradictory?" A wave of murmurs rippled through the crew. Meghan inhaled sharply. "Seeking a platform is not the same thing as seeking attention," she countered. "There's a difference between telling your story and trying to become a public spectacle." Savannah leaned slightly forward. "But many viewers believe you choose moments that maximize attention. Some even call it strategic. Would you say that's unfair?" The tension became thick enough to touch. Meghan's smile faltered. "I think that's a very harsh assumption. People don't know what goes on behind the scenes." Savannah cut in, then helped them understand. "Yesterday you said you wanted peace away from media scrutiny, yet today you're here on one of the most watched morning shows in America. Isn't that a contradiction?" For a moment, Meghan simply stared at her, stunned. The control room crackled with excitement. Camera operators adjusted their angles. Producers exchanged raised eyebrows. They knew Savannah was tough, but this was a new level. Meghan finally spoke, but her voice carried a tremor. "I came here because I was invited. And because I believe in open dialogue. That's not hypocrisy." Savannah responded with a quick, cool smile. "Fair enough. Let's talk about the criticism from your recent documentary." Meghan exhaled in frustration. "Is this an interview," she snapped lightly, "or an interrogation?" A gasp broke from someone off camera. Savannah didn't flinch. "I'm just asking the questions the public wants answered." "Yes," Meghan said, her composure slipping, "but there's a respectful way to do that." "And I'm being respectful," Savannah replied firmly. "I'm simply not avoiding the difficult questions." The studio became silent. You could hear the faint buzz of the overhead lights. Meghan looked away for a moment, visibly struggling to regain her calm. When she turned back, her voice was softer, but icy. "All right, Savannah. Then ask whatever you want." Savannah nodded once, accepting the challenge. Very well, she said. Let's talk about your relationship with the royal family. Meghan stiffened. Savannah continued, you've made several claims in recent months, but members of the family have denied or contradicted many of them. Are you saying they're lying? Meghan opened her mouth, but stopped, shocked by the directness of the question. The clash had begun, and the entire world was watching. For a long, heavy moment, Meghan said nothing. Her jaw tightened, her eyes flicked toward the cameras, and the poised smile she had worn since the segment began was now entirely gone. Savannah, she said finally, choosing each word carefully, I'm not here to call anyone a liar. I'm here to speak from my own experience. That's all any of us can do. Savannah nodded, but the steel in her eyes didn't waver. Of course. But your statements have global consequences. Whether intentionally or not, they paint a certain picture that many people believe conflicts with reality. Don't you think clarity matters? Meghan's throat bobbed with a swallow. Clarity matters, she repeated. But so does empathy. So does understanding. Savannah didn't let the moment breathe. Do you feel the royal family has shown you that empathy? A hush fell again. Even the crew stood frozen. Meghan exhaled slowly, visibly irritated now. I think it's complicated, she said. Families are complicated. There are misunderstandings, hurt feelings. But you've spoken about more than misunderstandings, Savannah interrupted. You've made serious allegations. People want to know, do you stand by every single claim? Meghan's lips parted, and her tone sharpened. Yes, Savannah. I stand by my truth. Savannah nodded, but her next words felt like a trap snapping shut. Your truth, she repeated. But truth is fact, not perspective. Are you saying everything you've ever stated is factual and without exaggeration? Meghan's head jerked slightly as though she'd been slapped. Are you implying I'm exaggerating? She demanded. Savannah didn't blink. I'm simply asking the question viewers are asking. A wave of visible discomfort washed over Meghan. Her shoulders tensed, her breathing grew shallow, and she forced a smile that carried no warmth. You know, Meghan said tightly, I didn't come here expecting hostility. Savannah raised an eyebrow. Holding someone accountable for their own public statements isn't hostility. Meghan's eyes flashed. There's a difference between accountability and ambush. For the first time, Savannah leaned back, crossing one leg over the other, her voice calm but undeniably firm. This isn't an ambush. This is journalism. Meghan gave a small laugh, a sharp, incredulous sound. Is it? Because it feels more like you're trying to make a spectacle out of me. Savannah tilted her head. You've been in the public eye for years. You know how this works. When you make bold claims, people ask bold questions. Meghan pressed her lips into a thin line, her hands tightening in her lap. Look, she said quietly, I came here to talk about my work, my projects. And we'll get to that, Savannah cut in. But first, we need to address the topics that have created so much controversy. You can't expect a global audience to ignore them. The moment felt like a lightning strike. Meghan's composure fractured just slightly. Well, she said sharply, perhaps I shouldn't have come. A gasp rippled across the studio. Savannah remained calm. That's your choice, of course. But you're here now, and we owe our viewers honesty. Meghan's eyes narrowed. Honesty goes both ways. Savannah didn't back down. So let's be honest. There are accusations that some of your statements have changed over the years. For example. But before she could finish, Meghan raised a hand. I am not going to sit here and let you twist my words. Savannah held up her own hand, mirroring the gesture. I'm not twisting anything. I'm quoting your own interviews. The tension was so thick the studio lights themselves seemed to dim. Meghan leaned forward, voice low and trembling with anger. Savannah, with all due respect, this is turning into a humiliation. Savannah didn't move. Only if you refuse to answer. Meghan stared at her, stunned by the bluntness. The crew stood dead still. Savannah continued, her tone steady and unflinching. Let's move to the next question. Recently, you said you didn't feel supported by your in-laws. Yet several sources claim efforts were made privately. Are you aware of those efforts? Meghan shook her head slowly, incredulous. I can't believe this. It's a simple question, Savannah said. And I've answered it before, Meghan snapped. But apparently that's not enough. Savannah let a short silence pass. Then answer it again, for the viewers watching today. Meghan's face flushed with frustration. She opened her mouth, but the words tangled in her throat. She closed it again, then shook her head. I'm done with this line of questioning, she said, her voice trembling between anger and hurt. Move on. Savannah hesitated, for the briefest moment. Then she obliged. Very well, she said, turning to a new card. Let's talk about your new charity initiative. Meghan straightened instantly, clinging to the safer ground. Yes, thank you, she said, relief washing over her voice. My organization is working too. But before she could finish, Savannah added, almost casually. Although some critics say the initiative is more about personal branding than charity. How do you respond to that? The air shattered. Meghan's eyes widened with disbelief. Savannah met her gaze directly, unwavering. That's the question, she said. The clash had escalated, and now, there was no going back.